Abney Park's The Toy Shop at the End of the World. Chapter 16. Another Toy is Broken. Between two massive and coal-stained brick tenements, a huge awning had been constructed which covered the whole street. The top of this awning was littered with trash thrown from tenement windows on the stories above it. The trash floated in pools of water that gathered in the drooping fabric. Under this awning was the night market. The awning had been built under the guise of keeping the rain off the shoppers in the street, but its real purpose was to keep the aerial police drones from witnessing the vast array of sins trafficked here. For the first few blocks, the commerce was fairly standard. Some shops sold junk jewelry, another sold books that had been approved or censored by the city's Council of Safe Reading, with many sentences blacked out or pages removed entirely. Another shop sold tragically old and battered clothing. The clothes sold here had been scavenged from places the shoppers dared not guess, but they were affordable, if not entirely whole. Small wagons lined the streets, selling a cheese-like substance sold as cheese, or rubbery bread or canned food that predated the city by 50 years. Fresh produce rarely appeared, and when it did, it was auctioned off at obscene rates and consumed by the richest of the city's inhabitants as a luxury. This is where Timony found herself, searching for more palatable food for the girls. There was fresh produce today, but the costs were beyond the meager earnings Timony had left over. She pushed past the more respectable crowd and ventured to the second and third blocks in. Here were slightly more disreputable businesses. Shops selling not fully functioning automatons who stared out at the street with fearful looks on their metal faces, terrified of who would buy them and for what nefarious purposes they'd be employed. Timony passed the shops selling medicines for conditions that the government of the city denied existed. Many citizens suffered from the bends, as the food of the city was far from fresh. Others suffered from the black cough, caused by the coal-polluted air that remained trapped in the walled city. These shops sold illegal remedies for illegal illnesses, and not all of these medicines worked. There was also a cure for Freelander's disease, which claimed to remove from your head any thoughts about a life outside the city. It didn't work exactly as described. This pill simply contained an intoxicating herb which, if taken regularly, made the patient happy, content, and mind-numbingly stupid. Though not addictive, its cure lasted only as long as the buzz from the drug continued. Since its users were depressed without it, it was far more habit-forming than most addictive drugs. In the blocks beyond, things began to get even more sinister. The lighting here was kept low, again to avoid detection. Rainwater collected and festered in the great awning and perpetually streamed onto the muddy streets. The air in the street was clouded with tobacco and opium from pipes, cigars, and hookahs smoked in the many open-aired pubs that lined the streets. These clubs had names like the Easy Win, Tomfoolery, and the Anthropophagists Club. Dark eyes from the pub's patrons stared out under the brims of top hats, bowlers, or the occasional fez. Many mumbled obscenities at the thinly clothed and delicate ballerina as she walked past. Crass, but not entirely uncomplimentary. Neither mattered, however, as Timony didn't understand them in the least. Well, except one.
Hey there, young girlie. You want to make some money?
I do,
Timony said. She thought about her last job and shivered. Then she inhaled and added,
I cost 25.
Boy, that seems like a bargain for a real girlie like you.
He was a whiskery and lean old man. He rose and scratched the hole where his missing ear had once been.
That's what I'd expect to pay for a machine, not a pretty little piece of pink flesh like yourself.
Timony was confused. What did he mean by real girly? She knew she was not the same type of person as Chloe and Bella and the doctor, her father. Neither did she feel she was altogether the same as her brother, the brass giant. But surely they were all real. As she pondered what the sallow man meant when he used the word real, he stepped away from the table where his sinister friends alternated dragged on a large hookah and he grabbed her. His hand fell on Timony's soft, silken smooth shoulder. He slid it downward, savoring the sensation, until her skin ended, and his fingers fell on a bare patch of gears and hydraulic pipes. He gave a little shriek of surprise and repulsion. His friends laughed.
You're a fake,
he stammered, angry at being embarrassed in front of his friends. Timony was horrified and confused at the same time. She hated the way he touched her, but it allowed it because she knew she would eventually be paid by him. But this talk of fake made her at once angry and scared. From the shadows of a nearby alley, a large man with a long leather coat had been silently watching all of this, as he watched all the girls working this block. His job was to keep an eye on the girls, protect them if they were ever in danger, or threaten and beat them if they ever tried to leave. For this service, he took 50% of what the girls were paid. When he saw Timony enter, in the nearly dark streets, his first thoughts had been,
"This girl needs my services, whether she wants them or not."
When he saw the interaction with the skinny man, he slipped silently behind her. The skinny man was yelling now.
You can't just go around selling yourself as a real girl.
He spat at her.
It's disgusting and it's illegal.
His friends were drunk and laughing at him, and to try to save his dignity, he raised a hand to strike her. Timony stepped backwards in fear.
You mechanical whore.
He began to say, but he was cut off. The large man in the coat grabbed the skinny man's fist, and at the same time he reached up behind Timony's head and placed his ring at the base of her neck. The jewel in this ring had been passed down from another time, and in it was a tiny but powerful magnet. The magnet attracted a small lever just inside the back of her skull. This lever connected her thoughts with her physical motion, and with it pulled back by the magnet, her body went limp. The ring was designed to do this, as this was the man's profession. He caught her and picked her up, saying,
"I'm so sorry, my good man. She didn't mean to deceive you, just to sustain the dream, so to speak. Didn't want to spoil your pleasure. But if it's not your cup of tea, we'll be on our way."
At this, the man in the coat quickly carried Timony off into the alley. The skinny man watched her limp form disappear around the corner with some regret.